Hey guys, my name is Erik and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button down below. Today I'm going to take you through a journey of my home studio evolution. And on this channel, I'm going to be putting out tons of videos about home recording. A lot of you that don't know me, I'm a guitar player in Los Angeles. I've been here for over 10 years. I've worked with artists such as Mark McGrath, Powerman 5000. I've performed with Robbie Krieger, Alan Parsons, and I've toured with some international bands as well. But all throughout this time, I've been doing home recording on a professional level. And what do I mean by professional level? That means that I've been getting paid to either record guitars, to edit Pro Tool sessions, program drums, to record vocals, vocal comping, mixing, full production, anything that involves recording, and you're getting paid, I call that professional level. Now, I didn't always start out with an impressive home studio. I started out with very minimal pieces, and I gradually have upgraded every single year and gotten new stuff. So the whole point of this video is to encourage you to get started now. I'm not saying that you need to have the exact setup I have or have started with the same stuff I have. The whole point is you just need to be making music today. And one of the things that I will reiterate in video after video on this channel is to maintain the ability to always be learning. When I first started home recording, I didn't know all the answers, but I always asked questions and I was always willing to learn. And by willing to learn and learn new mixing concepts and recording tips and tricks, I've gotten to where I am today. So my first experience with home recording was with my first band in 2003. Now, it didn't sound very good, and I had no idea, what he was using for mic pre's or recording software or any of that stuff, but I was just so amazed that you could make a record at home. I don't think it was until I got to Los Angeles that I really worked in a professional studio, because I'd done a couple other records with different bands, in home studios up until I left Pittsburgh in 2009. I first started with a really small interface, and I can't remember what I had, but back in Pittsburgh I bought something that I was able to attempt to record guitars and attempt to try to record my amps. I had no idea what I was doing, and at this point, the reason why I keep saying to be always asking questions is because I wasn't really asking questions. I was just trying to figure things out, and I blew up amp heads along the way, and I wasn't getting good sounds. And it wasn't until I started really asking questions to learn exactly what professionals did that I started getting professional results. So fast forward to moving to Los Angeles, my first interface here was some kind of Focusrite thing. It was small, it had 2 channels. I couldn't even tell you what it was called. I probably couldn't even identify it if I saw it. But I was using that for a minute, and it had built-in mic pre's and whatnot. And it sounded like fine for then. I think I was using like plug-in amps, probably like Amp Farm or something as well. I mean, it was not a very sophisticated setup. And the next thing I got was an 11 rack, which was made by Avid. And that thing just sounded so digital. But, it got me from A to B. It got me recording, and it got me, tracking, okay sounding guitars that I actually could charge for the tracks. I got them to sound okay. But the modelers today like Axifex and Kemper are just light years ahead of where the 11 rack was. I don't think in hindsight the 11 rack was really good, but it served its purpose, and it's definitely served its purpose for me. So the reason why I decided to upgrade from the 11 rack is because I was touring with a Russian artist, and we were doing a ton of shows. And at one point there was no shows, and I was kind of clueless. Like, I was doing music full time up until this point, but I stopped doing any other gigs I was doing and only focused on this band because it was good money and we were working a lot. And so I was off tour, and I was like, what am I going to do? I was working with somebody at the time who was encouraging me to do more recording. And I got rid of my 11 rack, and here's a picture of what was kind of the first setup. There's a few pieces in this photo that came along later. I'm using my MacBook, as you can see, and I had a television that was up on the wall so the clients that were sitting on the couch could see the session. I've got a Rosetta 200 by Apogee and a Digi 003. They were linked somehow. I can't remember. I think I had them linked so that I could use more mic pre's from the Digi. I don't remember. But I also have a 6176 here, which was my first, real mic pre, and it's got a 610 on one side and an 1176 on the other side. And I bought off Craigslist, and I was like, wow, this was a huge purchase. I think it was like $1,000 or something, and I felt like a lot for what it was. And I have eventually, I've since then sold that unit and gotten other different mic pre's, but at the time I was like, wow, this is a lot just to spend on this mic pre thing. And little did I know how expensive recording equipment can be. But also I've got in this shot the BAE DMP, which I still have and use every day. It's like a desktop 1073, it's portable. And for monitoring, I've got KRK, I think they're Rocket 5s or Rocket 3s or something, but yeah, that was my first kind of like real setup. So at this point, I'm getting now paid, by clients to either do full productions, and I was doing songwriter demos and library music as well. For what it was an expensive setup for me. I think I had one microphone, an SM7B at this point, but this was able to get me, professional jobs, and I was getting paid every single day to do something in my home studio. And nobody ever complained about the equipment, nobody ever questioned it or said anything. I just continued to upgrade over time because I just wanted to get better gear and more gear and expand my capabilities. Okay, so this is kind of like the second iteration of the studio. I've still got the 6176, but now I have transitioned to putting things in, some kind of 8 space or 10 space rack or whatever it is. I've upgraded my interface to an Antelope Orion Studio, which was also a huge purchase, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm spending this much money on, on an interface. But it was a huge step up from the Digi 003 and Rosetta. Like, I could hear the difference immediately using this. And also my monitoring is different. I've upgraded now to Focal CMS 65. No patch bay at this point. Everything is just in line. And also I've got a 2 notes Torpedo Studio or Torpedo Live, which was a load box. So I'm now experimenting with doing guitars direct. Previous to that, I had an ISO box with a 412 in it. I was just trying different things, trying different mics, and I'll probably do a whole video about home guitar recording solutions coming soon, where I've talked about all the different things I've used. Okay, so in this one, now you see that I have a 1073 EQ. So I still got the universal audio at this point. I'm still using the load box. I'm going direct. There's a lot more pedals in the picture here, which that's constantly changing. There's always so many pedals coming and going and chasing that sound. And it looks like I also added a set of NS10s. So at this point now I'm using 2 sets of monitoring. I had to get a smaller television, it looks like, to fit those on the desk. But I was experimenting with checking my mix versus this set of monitors and that set of monitors, and really just learning what I liked. All these upgrades were learning what I liked and the sound that I liked and the workflow that I liked, and I just kept changing it over time. And that's the thing is, you don't have to have tons of money, because I was always selling gear and then buying new gear. So whatever I had invested initially, on an amp or a mic pre or whatever, I sold it and bought a different one. So I was always trying different things. Okay, so up until this point, I'm constantly doing productions. I'm getting a lot of work and things are going great, and I'm making money and I'm upgrading my home studio. And I've been working at this point now with my friend Colin over at Plastic Dog Recording, and I'm seeing his setup and he's teaching me the way that he works and his workflow. And it's always good to have people that you're constantly working with and that are a little bit farther along than you that you can ask questions from. I had no idea about printing analog mixing and all that, hybrid mixing until this point. And I went over to Colin's studio and I took a track and we started printing the different tracks through his different BAE EQs and stuff. And I was like, whoa, like my mind was blown on what a difference it makes to do something like that. So this picture here, you can see that I went all in. I added a second 1073. I also now have 2 10 DCF compressors from BAE. I still got the 6176, which I think I sold pretty quickly after I did this. I've upgraded my converters to Apogee Symphony Mark II 16x16. I've got a patch bay now. I've still got the NS10s, and I've got the Focal CMS 65s. I don't have a photo, but after this setup, I upgraded my monitoring and I added 3-ways. So I had Dyne Audio LYD 48s and the NS10s. I have since sold those and gone to Amphions. But the cool thing about this setup was the first time I ever experimenting with analog summing. So I got a 16x16 interface, even though I had only 3 mic pre's, because I was using the 16 outs to sum to 2. So I was summing everything through the Dangerous 2-bus Lite, and I still have that today, and it's an awesome, awesome unit. At this point, I'm also learning about printing tracks, through the mic pre's and using the EQs and the compressors. So this was a huge, huge upgrade for me. And that leads me to where we are today. I'm gonna do another video doing a full home studio tour, but since then my setup from that has even evolved some more. I've got more processing for the 2-bus. I've got additional effects that I can mix through. And like I said, every day is a learning experience. Every single week, month, year, I'm adding something new and trying something new. And that's only because I invest in myself. It's not that I just, money falls from the sky and I just buy gear. I'm dedicated to getting better. I'm dedicated to having better equipment. And I'm constantly on the hunt to try to do new things in my studio. And a lot of people will choose cheaper alternatives from some of these name brand items, which if that's the way you want to go, that's fine too. I'm just going to celebrate anybody that wants to create music. But for me, I like the comfort of knowing that if I want a 1073 sound, I'm using a 1073. I'm not using some kind of 1073 knockoff, or I'm not using some emulation of a 1073. I'm using the real deal. And that's something that was always really important to me. And I'm the same way with guitar amps, and I'm the same way with pedals and guitars. If I want a Fender sound, I'm gonna get a Fender amp. If I want a Marshall sound, I'm gonna get a Marshall amp. And that's just the way I've always been. It's something that's always been really important to me, and you can go any direction you want. But on this channel, I'm gonna talk about my journey, and I'm gonna talk about the equipment that I've used over time, and I can only speak about stuff that I've used. There's plenty of gear out there that I've never tried, and I'm not gonna touch base on that stuff until I actually try it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna have tons more stuff about home recording, and I'm actually working on a course as well that's gonna teach you guys how to make a lot more extra income in the music business and how to set yourself up for success. So stay tuned for that, and please leave some comments below. Tell me about your setup and what you're using at home, and I hope to hear from you guys and see you guys soon for another video. Thanks.